In this video, we're going to kick off our first end-to-end rifle build with a Pristine action. Gavin here from UltimateReloader.com. Since getting my Carbon 6 1 7.5 6mm barrel and this Pristine short action, I've been thinking about what would be a really cool build to put together. Here it is. It's going to be a 6GT lightweight hunting rifle. Let me walk you through what the components are, and then we're going to get this Pristine action out of the box and talk about some of its features. Okay, so we've got the Pristine short action with 308 bolt face. We've got the Carbon 6 6mm 1 7.5 barrel. I just chambered up one of these for Peter Milan. It was a 6.5 Sherman short. That rifle turned out really awesome. We've got an Alpha Munitions 6GT reamer with 170 thou free bore. We've got a Manson Go Gauge. Hawkins Precision M5 DBM bottom metal. This is the bottom metal I use on pretty much every build I do that can accommodate an M5 bottom metal. We've got the Bixen Andy Tac Sport X 2-stage trigger. This is going to be really fun for a hunting rifle. I'm not sure exactly what magazine I'm going to use. This is just a Magpul polymer 10-round mag. And also we'll get to optics mount and optics a little bit later in this video. I'm still working on that as well. This stock is a Benchmark carbon, really nice stock that we used for a 6.5 PRC build a while back. I did a separate story, I think, where we put this Arca rail on the front. I milled a flat section there and did a nice job mounting that. I think this is going to be absolutely awesome. I'm going to put this stuff away and we can talk about the receiver. Okay. So this is what you're going to get if you order an action from Pristine. Comes in this nice box. We've got kind of a foam padded lid here. And we've got the action body itself, the receiver, the bolt assembly, the lug, which is pinned, the rail and mounting hardware, and the trigger pins, plus some lube. Nice cut foam case, really good stuff. Okay, so let me give you a quick rundown on the features. The action has a Remington 700 footprint and hanger, separate pinned recoil lug, roller cocking piece, Seiko extractor, is built from 416 stainless, has dual ejectors except on the 223 bolt face, unique 6-lug design, floating interchangeable bolt head, compatible with Savage pre-fit barrels, double pinned 20 MOA rail, and replaceable bolt handle, which uses standard 5/16 24 threading. Pristine now has both short action and long action models live on their website. For short action, the following bolt faces are available: 223, 6-arc, 308, and Magnum. And for long action, the following are available: 308, Magnum, and 338 Lapua. Okay, so I've prettied up things a little bit. This is a really interesting action. It's kind of a combination of different things. Obviously, you've got the Remington 700 footprint. You've got a pinned lug, which is nice. I don't like to deal with non-pinned lugs. I kind of have to shim things with the action wrench to get everything to clock correctly. You know, so the pin is definitely a no-brainer. Remington 700 trigger hanger is obviously good. That's going to give us a ton of different options for triggers. And this 6-lug design is just super interesting. It's something that's a little bit different. You know, it's not what I'm totally used to. Kind of reminds me of the Weatherby a little bit, but obviously the rest of this action is more similar to a typical Remington 700 clone. I like the pinned Picatinny rail. That's going to keep it from moving around. 20 MOA is going to give us more elevation for long range shooting. And just overall, the fit and finish seems to be absolutely excellent. The bolt release is kind of interesting how they've integrated that in a smooth contour with respect to the body. Yeah, it seems really slick. We'll get it in the rifle and see how it feels once the rifle is all together. So this is really fun. I feel privileged to be able to work with so many cool rifle components and parts. And I think this build is gonna be a lot of fun. Okay, so when it comes to an ultra precision rifle build, a little bit of prep work goes a long ways and will actually save you time at the lathe. I was able to get this tenon drawing and receiver drawing from Pristine. Kind of created my own drawing that reflects the specs that I intend to use for the actual rifle build, including the headspace dimension. I'll be using my go gauge on the lathe to determine exactly where I'm at in that process. I also went to the SAMI website and printed out the 6GT specifications, page 1, which has your ammo specifications and your chamber specifications. And then I ran those numbers through some proprietary software that I'm developing for the chambering process here, that's going to have each sort of step of the process and only the relevant dimensions for that particular process. No compromises on the build. This is essentially a Savage small shank for the short action Pristine actions. And if you're building one for the long action, it's going to use these Savage large shank specifications. So you can use Savage barrel nut barrels or pre-fits with this platform, which is a definite plus. Okay, I feel prepared. I'm going to go fire up the lathe and get this barrel done. Okay, so here it is. The complete rifle is absolutely amazing. I can't wait to walk through how this entire story unfolded. So with the prep, done and all my calculations put together, SAMI diagram in hand, tenon print in hand, it was time to go out to the lathe and do the work. And the lathe I used for this chambering job was Precision Matthews PM1440 HVT2. This is a little heavier than my 1440 GT that I also have from Precision Matthews. It's got a cast iron base. It's really well set up for gunsmithing work. And if you want to know more about it, I have a couple dedicated videos, one when it landed, getting it set up and getting it degreased, and then the other was an in-depth walkthrough and a comparison to our other Precision Matthews lathes that we have here at Ultimate Reloader, of which there are 3. So really, really good setup, and I've done quite a bit of work to fine-tune the setup and accessorize for gunsmithing. And in terms of the reference materials, I did get the tenon print and receiver diagram from Pristine, which you can see here. It's got a lot of good information on it, and I distilled that down to a more simplified tenon print diagram. This has got everything that I need at the lathe to get that tenon turned down, to get it threaded, and then you can also see that I have a headspace dimension here from the shoulder to the end of the go gauge that gives you a perfect zero tolerance specification. I typically go +2, as in 2,000ths deeper. When you tighten the action down, there's a tiny bit of give there, and then also that gives you just that little bit of tolerance that you need, so you're not going to have bolt drag on close with brand new brass. So when I have this kind of information in hand, I feel confident. Quick note about carbon fiber barrels. Doing a chambering job on a carbon fiber barrel is a lot like doing one with a traditional stainless steel or carbon steel barrel. But there are a couple things that you need to pay attention to. So this is the second carbon 6 barrel that we've done here at Ultimate Reloader. You're going to want to check out the story I did with Peter Milan about building 2 rifles and rock chucking. His was a 6.5 Sherman short. That turned out amazing. So that was a 6.5. In this case, we've got a 6mm barrel blank. Really, really fine craftsmanship, and that's something that you want to preserve. So it's important to protect the carbon from any kind of impregnation of material or scratching, and that's very easily done by just wrapping some drywall tape or something similar around the barrel, taping that off so that your spider screws or whatever you've got going on at the chuck. Here we've got tiny aluminum pads that sit under the 4-jaw chuck jaws. You just want to make sure that you're not going to scratch up the really nice surface finish on a really nice custom carbon barrel blank like this, right? And then the other thing to keep in mind is just you don't have any margin for error. For instance, on the muzzle end, you're going to get committed. I have a 1/10 of an inch of stainless exposed here, and then the 5/8 24 threaded muzzle. That doesn't give you any, give when it comes to making mistakes or anything like that. But that's the way I approach my mentality when I'm at the lathe. Is this is not a place where we can make mistakes. We just can't, and we don't. I know that's easier said than done, but overall, carbon barrels are not a problem. They just require a little bit more attention to detail and a little bit more thoughtfulness about protection. Okay, so we started on the breech end. Breech end for this, rifle work was just about like a lot of the other ones that I've done. I've got my checklist here, quite a few steps, and for me it's very important at the lathe to make sure that I haven't missed any steps and that I can just focus on the quality of craftsmanship and not try and remember everything, right? Check it off one process at a time. We put the barrel in the lathe with a rough dial. We drilled out the bulk of the chamber material, went in there with a 1/10,000th indicator, got the barrel running absolutely true, bored what will be the chamber walls, the pre-drill walls, completely true so that reamer has a nice landing zone that's wobble free when we get to the chambering phase. Turn the tenon down, turn the thread relief, thread the tenon. In this case it was 1 1/16" by 20, which is the Savage small shank specification, and then we go at it with the chambering reamer, right? And in this case we've got an Alpha Munitions Legacy solid carbide reamer, and when I've got everything completely dialed in perfectly like this with a rigid reamer holder, I find I don't even need a reamer bushing, which is just absolutely crazy. I checked for run out at various times through the chambering cut process, and I found that I had essentially 0 run out whatsoever. It's about that rigid reamer holder. It's about getting the barrel dialed completely true and single point boring those pre-drilled chamber walls completely true prior to that reamer going in. Just a really satisfying experience. I then removed the barrel from the lathe, flipped it around, and took on the task of threading the muzzle. And this is where, for this particular job, I got it pre-dialed, parted off the end of the barrel so that I had my 1/10 of an inch of stainless adjacent to the carbon, and then 0.610 beyond that for the threaded portion and whatnot. So I turned the tenon down with a relief on both sides. I like to give a non-threaded section on the very end of the muzzle so that your brake or your suppressor can kind of center up before engaging the threads. Threaded at 5/8 24 and did my classic flat recessed muzzle with a slight beveling to take off the lands, right? So really nice machining, stainless steel. I was really happy with the surface finish and everything went absolutely perfect. Okay, so with the barrel work done, it's time to move on to assembly. And so I started by torquing the action down to the barrel, and Pristine does make an internal action wrench, which is on its way now. But you can also use an external action wrench. I used a generic one for Remington 700, and because this is pinned, I didn't need to use the action screw hole and the centering feature to get that clocked correctly. The pin takes care of that. All you need to do is grab the outside of the receiver body and kind of get that recoil lug torquing. And I didn't overdo it. I typically won't torque a barrel more than 75 foot-pounds. It's just not necessary to go any more than that. It just makes it easier to deal with. So that was really good. Double-checked my headspace. Everything's good there. Screw down the rail. There's 2 pins and then 4 screws. I used Loctite, alternating pattern. Everything went together really nicely with that. Then I moved to the trigger, which for this build was Tac Sport X 2-stage. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Installed the barreled action in the stock. I actually had a little bit more clearancing to do, so I went over to my Precision Matthews PM 949 and put the appropriate cutter in and took a little bit more material out of the barrel channel so that I had plenty of free floating room there. Torqued down the barreled action in the stock. This Hawkins M5 DBM fit perfectly. Here you can see I found in the shop a PMag 5-round AICS magazine for 308. This is the nice thing about 6GT. If you look at cartridges like 6-Dasher, you need a special magazine configuration, where for the GT cartridges, they'll feed great out of a standard 308 magazine. So that is just one less thing to deal with when you're talking about a rifle build. I used the supplied action screws that Hawkins provided with the M5 DBM. Everything went together real nice. Okay, so the TacSport X 2-stage from Bix and Andy, which is sold through Bullet Central here in the United States, really nice trigger. It's adjustable from 10 ounce to 3.4 pounds. It has individually adjustable first and second stages, is available with our left or right hand safety, and is also available in single stage. And after shooting the rifle, I'll have to say, I really like this both for target and for hunting. You know, for hunting, I shot with Peter Milan over in South Africa last summer and really enjoyed having a 2-stage trigger for shooting those animals in South Africa. It gives you that just extra bit of awareness about what you're doing with the trigger. No surprises, you know, when the gun goes off, that kind of thing. Everything fit perfectly with the Pristine short action. Just drove the pins through, nice and slick, super easy install. Okay, so at this point the rifle is together. You know, we took some Hawkins tactical rings. We've got a Riton scope here. This is the same scope and ring setup that we had on our Bergara custom 7mm PRC build, and it worked good then and just went right together here. You know, so then we got to thinking, what are we going to load? So we took a very well performing Berger 109 load that uses Alpha Munitions brass, 34.6 grains of Varget and a Federal 205 small rifle primer, seated to 2.600 inches cartridge overall length. I did use my Loctite method to create a dummy round, and that leaves us about 26 thousandths of an inch jump, which is just about right. Okay, so for me, there's always that bit of anticipation when it comes to bringing the rifle up to the mid-mountain range, which is typically where we sight in our rifles, and sitting down to see how this rifle is going to shoot. And for this, we used the bench rest. One of the reasons I like to use the bench rest for sighting in rifles is it's really easy to keep the rifle steady while you look through the bore and then look through the scope and make sure that things agree. Now this Benchmark carbon stock has kind of a high comb here, so I had to just kind of look at half of the sight picture for the bore sighting, but I still got it really good. In fact, if we look at the first shot through the rifle, it was only about, what is that? About 2.5 inches away from the center. So that worked out really good. I always feel good when, you know, I can just go straight to 100 yards, bore sight, and get on paper with the first shot. But what really surprised me is what happened with the next 3 shots. The next 3 shots went into 0.320 inches, and it just felt really good. The recoil's very manageable, the trigger very crisp, and I know exactly when the gun's gonna go off, right? Light trigger pull, it's everything that I'm looking for in a trigger. And super cool to take a load that worked in our other 6GT and see it perform so good right off the bat. I did follow that up with another 5-shot group, and the 5-shot group went into 0.669. And so that could have been the barrel heating up just a touch, but we don't see any stringing here, right? For a carbon barrel, I am super happy with the performance of this sight-in load. Now, with some additional load development and a bit more practice behind the rifle, I think things probably just get better from here. Another bullet I'd like to try is the Berger 105 hybrid, which we just got more of recently. That was definitely the better performer in my 6-dasher. One of the loads grouping the smallest group I've ever seen out of one of my rifles, which was 0.090 inches for 5 shots at 100 yards. So at the end of the day, this rifle, I'm just absolutely super happy with it and can think of a lot of things I'd want to do with it. If I'm backpacking and going rock chucking or even deer hunting, I think this thing would be absolutely a great option for that. And if you want to learn gunsmithing like what I've done in this story, where you want to go is the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. It's a unique program. You get hands-on instruction from masters of the lathe, masters of the mill. You're going to learn how these firearm mechanisms work, make your own wood stock, put your own project rifle together. It's just an amazing program, and they've been an amazing partner to work with. Also, if you're looking for barrel blanks, OTM Tactical is where you want to go. We shop there all the time, and our UR5 discount code can save you 5% site-wide. Great place to go for barrels, triggers, and other things, actions, and so on and so forth. Okay, so my overall concluding thoughts. This Pristine action shot really well. The information that they supplied to me, the gunsmith, helped me have confidence doing this chambering job, and just, I absolutely love this rifle. That's the only way I can say it. 6GT is a very versatile all-rounder without the mag feeding issues that you're going to have with some of the other newer, more compact, shorter 6mm cartridges. Carbon 6 barrels, I got to hand it to them. I'm really impressed so far, and I've got a couple more barrels that I'm going to work with here to further try out their product line and do some super cool builds in the process. And so there's more related stories to come. One of the things I'd like to do with Pristine is look at their newly released long action. I can think of a ton of different things I'd want to build on that, which makes me think, what stock am I going to use and what trigger am I going to use? Decisions. If you have ideas for me, drop a comment down in the comment section. And if you'd like to, leave your feedback about what we did with this particular build, or if you have a build that's similar, again, drop that comment. We'll just start that discussion in the comment section. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.